Before we begin, do not pick locks you do not own or have not been given permission to open by the rightful owner. Do not open locks that are currently in use. Do not violate the security needs of others. If you can't respect these rules, shut my video off now. This is my first video of doing a little bit of lock sport. I used to have a YouTube channel. I used to do Let's Plays. Yeah, I know. But recently I got into the hobby of lock sport, enjoying picking locks, figuring out how locks work and stuff like that. So wanted to start making some videos, especially since I'm on the lock picking subreddit, and they encourage that kind of activity. They really enjoy people doing that, and it's good for educational purposes too. I mean, hey, at least someone can hopefully get something out of my picking and out of understanding the things of the locks. So, anywho, before we begin, I do want to tell you to blatantly ignore the fidget spinner, and I have some set of picks that I got from eBay. Got this for $10 along with this acrylic lock, which I'm going to pick for you on screen in a moment here. But I got this set. It's not too bad of a set. It's just a simple lock picking set. I got it for about $10. Mostly has picks. It has a dimple rake, strangely enough, but yeah, pretty neat stuff. Very cheap. So if you want to get into the hobby, literally only takes a few minutes, and well, not a few minutes. I'm sorry. Literally takes like about $10 or so, $10 to $20 for a good lock picking set, and then you're pretty much good to go after that. So, without further ado, I am also going to pick a lock for you guys. Just to start recording this, I already am yellow belt on lock picking, but I want to show off the couple of locks that I do have and show off some picking as well. Also kind of explain the mechanics a little bit. But kind of the long story short, the basic mechanics of it, the way that they work is you adjust the pins inside of the lock to a state where the security pins that are in here, or well, these aren't security pins, but there's two sets of pins that you'll see within a lock, and basically you want to make sure that these pins are kind of lined up so that way they function like the key would inside of the lock itself, and then from there it should allow you to freely turn it. So that's kind of the basics of what you would want to do in this instance. What I do recommend, I did get a acrylic lock the first time around as well, and I definitely recommend that because it did help me understand what is actually happening behind the scenes. Because if you're just going into locks, you'll get it. I mean, you can definitely get it using a regular lock, but it helps to actually see the first few times, just so you know what you're doing. You don't want to become dependent on acrylic locks, because from here on out, you're going to be blind. You can't see what's going on. But it's good for at least the first few times. That way you understand the mechanics of a lock and you understand how to pick. So, without further ado, let me go ahead and noodle around on this one. Kind of the simple mechanics of it is you want to use something that can apply constant rotation to the lock, typically called a torque wrench or a tension wrench. Typically, you want something that can at least fit in the lock and that you can just kind of, push on constantly. This one is I've been using this one on all the locks I've gotten so far, and it's been pretty good. It's just, as you see, it's a thin piece of metal that's kind of rotated and kind of bent at an angle, so that way I could hold it like this, and I could just, use my fingers and kind of push. So, since this is acrylic as well, I'll go ahead and show this off to you. Pardon the lighting, but do you see the pins? You see how each of them are kind of aligned differently? It's for security reasons. That's the reason why you see that there's notches on the key. So that way everything's different. You can't just simply put any key in any lock and go ahead and pop it open. Kind of the long story short of it, you'll definitely want to do a little bit of research on your own too. But the long story short is you can use either a rake, which would be something that has kind of a zigzag to it, or you can use something like this. I personally prefer single pin picking. And I use this little hook, and you can literally, so you apply constant pressure to it, and you can go through, and as you see here, you can push each of these. So you can push these up, and you can push each individual one, and they go up to varying lengths. And you'll see if you push them up enough on the acrylic lock, you'll see that there's a second pin that's underneath. And the pins that are underneath are what interact with your key. And as long as these line up to a specific point, what should happen is, because there's a gap between those two pins, it should allow the cylinder that's inside to rotate. And that, from there, pushes the mechanism that's up here. And that's what actually opens the lock, and this spring will shove it upward. So, without further ado, let me go ahead and show this one off really quick. So, this one I've picked to hell and back. This is extremely easy. There's literally only 3 pins that need to be set on this, and ta-da, I've already picked it. So, as you see here, I've already got it a little bit rotated. Yeah, I just rotated the rest of the way, and pop, we got it. Fairly straightforward, but yeah, kind of as you see. I'll show it off with the keys as well, just so you get kind of a basic understanding. But when you have a key in, or when you've got it successfully picked, you'll see that those all kind of line up. They're all at the same distance. So it tends to vary on the lock, but most of these pins are usually the same size. And then the pins that actually interact with the keys are varying lengths that are usually hidden by the cylinder. So, long story short, you pick it, adjust the pins correctly, and it pops. So that's kind of it for this one. I have the Master 140 back there that I've also picked to here and back, and I'll show that off in a separate video. But just want to show this off. Fairly easy, and give you a little bit of education as well. And also introduce myself, because you're going to be seeing more of me around. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.